Have you ever wondered how one small act of kindness can completely change a person's life? Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another emotional story. It was a cold Monday morning. David, a hard-working single father, woke up before sunrise in his tiny apartment. His 8-year-old son Ethan was still asleep, hugging an old teddy bear that had belonged to his late mother. David quietly prepared breakfast, packed Ethan's school lunch, and smiled despite the worries filling his mind. Life had never been easy since his wife passed away. Every day he worked harder than ever, trying to be both a father and a mother to his little boy. After dropping Ethan at school, David rushed to the company where he had worked faithfully for more than 7 years. He believed it would be another ordinary day. He was wrong. The moment he entered the office, everyone seemed unusually quiet. His manager approached him with a serious expression. "The CEO wants to see you immediately." David felt nervous but remained calm. He walked into the luxurious executive office where the company's powerful CEO stood beside the large glass window overlooking the city. Without even offering him a seat, the CEO spoke in a cold voice. "Your position has been eliminated. Today is your last day." David froze. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. "Sir, I've always worked overtime. I've never missed deadlines. If I've made a mistake, please tell me." The CEO looked at him without emotion. "This isn't personal. Security will escort you out." David tried one last time. "My son depends on me. Please, give me one more chance." The CEO turned away. "The meeting is over." Within minutes, David walked out carrying nothing but a small cardboard box containing family photos, a coffee mug, and a few personal belongings. Outside the building, dark clouds covered the sky. Rain slowly began to fall. David looked up at the towering office building where he had given years of his life. Now he was unemployed, yet the hardest part wasn't losing the job. It was wondering how he would tell Ethan. That evening, David forced a smile as he picked his son up from school. "Dad, are we okay?" Ethan asked after noticing his father's silence. David gently smiled. "Everything will be fine, buddy." He didn't want his son to carry the burden of adult problems. After putting Ethan to bed, David quietly left the apartment. He wanted fresh air. The rain had become heavier. The streets were almost empty. Midnight was approaching. As David walked through a quiet road, he suddenly noticed a luxury black car stopped at the side of the street. Its headlights were still on. The driver's door was open. Something didn't feel right. As he stepped closer, he saw a man lying unconscious on the wet pavement. Blood trickled down the man's forehead. Without thinking about who he was, David rushed forward. "Sir, can you hear me?" There was no answer. David immediately called emergency services. While waiting for the ambulance, he carefully supported the injured man's head to keep him safe from the rain. A flash of lightning lit up the stranger's face. David's eyes widened. His heart nearly stopped. He recognized him. It was the same CEO, the man who had fired him only hours earlier. David stared at him in complete disbelief. Should he walk away, or should he save the man who had destroyed his career? To be continued. *writing greater than. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this emotional story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another inspiring story. David stood frozen in the pouring rain. The unconscious man lying in front of him was the same CEO who had fired him just a few hours earlier. For a brief second, painful memories rushed through his mind. He remembered begging for one more chance. He remembered thinking about Ethan. He remembered leaving the office with nothing but a cardboard box. A voice inside him whispered, "Walk away," but another voice was even louder. "Your character is more valuable than your anger." David took off his jacket and gently placed it over the injured CEO to protect him from the cold rain. Within minutes, the sound of an ambulance echoed through the empty streets. The paramedics rushed over. "What happened?" "I found him lying here," David replied. "Can you come with us? We may need a witness." Without hesitation, David climbed into the ambulance. At the hospital, doctors immediately pushed the CEO into the emergency room. Hours passed. David sat alone in the waiting area wearing wet clothes. He had no reason to stay, yet something in his heart refused to leave. Finally, a doctor walked out. "Who brought him here?" "I did. You saved his life. A few more minutes and we might have lost him." David quietly thanked the doctor. Just then, several expensive cars stopped outside the hospital. Bodyguards rushed inside. Behind them came a well-dressed woman in her 50s. Tears filled her eyes. "My son, where's my son?" The doctor explained that the surgery had gone well. The woman noticed David sitting quietly in the corner. "Were you the one who saved him?" David nodded. She held both of his hands tightly. "Thank you. You have no idea what you've done for our family." David smiled politely. "I only did what anyone should do." At that moment, one of the bodyguards suddenly recognized him. "Wait, aren't you the employee who was fired this morning?" The hallway became silent. The woman looked surprised. "Is that true?" David lowered his eyes. "Yes. And even after that, you still saved my son?" David answered calmly. "I couldn't leave someone to die." The woman stood speechless. She had spent her entire life around wealthy and powerful people, but she had rarely seen kindness like this. The next morning, the CEO slowly opened his eyes. His mother immediately hugged him. Then she quietly said, "The man who saved your life is outside." The CEO expected to see one of his business partners. Instead, David walked into the room. The CEO's face turned pale. "You?" David simply nodded. The room fell completely silent. Neither man spoke for several moments. Finally, the CEO asked, "Why did you help me?" David looked directly into his eyes. "My father taught me that a good person doesn't choose who deserves help." The CEO couldn't respond. For the first time in years, he felt ashamed. Later that afternoon, the CEO asked his assistant to bring him David's employee file. As he carefully read every page, his expression slowly changed. Perfect attendance, excellent performance, outstanding customer reviews, several awards. There wasn't a single disciplinary warning. He looked at the human resources director. Then why was he fired? The HR director became nervous. It was part of the restructuring plan. Who approved it? You did, sir, along with hundreds of other names. The CEO realized something painful. He had never personally reviewed David's case. He had signed the papers without knowing the lives they would destroy. For the first time, he understood that decisions made inside a luxurious office could completely change someone's future. Meanwhile, David returned home. Ethan ran toward him. "Dad, you're finally home." David hugged his son tightly. That hug reminded him why he had never allowed hatred to control his heart. The next morning, David's phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, is this Mr. David?" "Yes. This is the CEO's personal office." David's heart began beating faster. "We would like you to come to headquarters this afternoon." David remained silent. Was this another humiliation, or was his life about to change forever? He looked at Ethan, who smiled innocently from across the room. David took a deep breath. "I'll be there." He had no idea that this meeting would change not only his future, but the future of everyone around him. To be continued. Before we begin the final chapter, if this story has touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Your support helps us bring you more inspiring stories like this one. David arrived at the company headquarters exactly on time. As he stepped through the front entrance, employees who had watched him leave with a cardboard box only 2 days earlier stared at him in surprise. Some whispered to each other. Others couldn't believe he had returned. David wasn't sure why he had been called back. He expected another disappointment. Instead, the receptionist smiled politely. "Mr. David, the CEO is waiting for you." A few moments later, David entered the executive office once again. This time, everything felt different. The CEO slowly stood up from his chair. There was no anger in his eyes, only regret. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Finally, the CEO broke the silence. "David, before anything else, I'm sorry." David looked at him without saying a word. The CEO continued. "I spent years believing numbers were more important than people. I signed papers without thinking about the families behind those names." He lowered his head. "When I fired you, I never imagined that the man I had just dismissed would become the man who would save my life." David quietly replied, "I didn't save you because you were my CEO. I saved you because you were a human being." Those words struck the CEO deeply. He reached into a folder and placed several documents on the desk. "I want you to come back." David remained silent. The CEO continued, "Not to your old position." He slid another document across the table. "I want you to become Director of Employee Relations." David looked surprised. "Why me?" The CEO smiled. "Because you understand something I forgot. Every employee has a family waiting for them at home." Before David could answer, the CEO added, "And your salary will be more than double what you earned before." David was grateful, but money wasn't the first thing on his mind. He looked at the CEO and asked, "If I accept, will you promise me one thing?" "Anything. No employee should ever lose their job again without someone honestly reviewing their situation first." The CEO nodded immediately. "I promise." That afternoon, the CEO gathered every employee in the company's largest conference hall. Hundreds of workers filled the room. Everyone wondered why such an unusual meeting had been called. The CEO stepped onto the stage. Standing beside him was David. A wave of whispers spread through the audience. The CEO spoke into the microphone. "A few days ago, I made one of the biggest mistakes of my life." The room became completely silent. "I fired a loyal employee without understanding his value." He looked toward David. "The same man later saved my life without asking for anything in return." Many employees were shocked. Some even had tears in their eyes. The CEO continued, "Today, I want everyone to know that kindness is stronger than power, and character is more valuable than any business title." He then announced several new company policies. Every employee facing dismissal would now receive a personal review. Financial assistance would be provided to workers facing family emergencies. Mental health counseling would be available. Education support would be offered for employees' children. The audience erupted into applause. For the first time in years, people felt that the company truly cared about them. Months passed. Under David's leadership, the workplace changed completely. Employees smiled more. Teamwork improved. Productivity reached record levels. The company became known not only for its success, but also for its compassion. One evening, after work, David returned home. Ethan ran outside and hugged him tightly. "Dad, are you happy now?" David smiled. "Happier than I've been in a very long time." He looked up at the evening sky. There had been a time when he believed losing his job was the end of his story. But now he realized, sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the beginning of your greatest blessing. And sometimes, the person who hurts you the most will one day need your kindness the most. Because true greatness is never measured by money, power, or position. It is measured by the choices we make when no one is watching. The end. Asterisk. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes that kindness can change the world. See you in the next story.